Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Down Low with Joel Lowe and Mike Dorezzo. Today's episode, March 14th, is all about how buying a computer and, the different pieces and components of it. We're also trying a new platform. You'll notice up on the top right, it says Melon. So we're giving this one a shot. We'll give it a shot. We'll see how it works out. And hopefully we don't come across and you see our real alien faces and then
Right,
we have
right,
to destroy humanity.
right.
Anyways, I don't know where this is coming from. By the way, it is post daylight savings, so Joel and I are a little punchy.
Yes.
But let's do this, Joel.
Happy
15
Pi Day,
plus
man.
years.
Happy
Happy
Pi Day for
Happy Pi Day.
all the
Happy
math
Pi Day.
nerds out there. Happy Pi Day.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
I lose out after 1-4. I don't. I know
Yeah.
people who can go like 20, 30 characters into pi, and I'm like,
No.
yeah, 3.14 and that little pi symbol on my calculator.
Yeah. That's about it.
Um,
That's
that's about
about
it.
it.
That's all I
Yeah.
really needed to know. Yet another day where I live without using sine, cosine, and tangent. Um,
Exactly. Exactly.
so Joel, buying a computer. This is as the resident IT guy in my family, I do get a lot of questions about ITs. I'm sure you get the same. Um,
Yes.
when you dive into this conversation, where do you start with your questions and how to kind of navigate somebody?
I always say if you want to stay secure, because I'm always in cybersecurity, then no, don't buy a computer. Cut all technology off
Hmm.
and hide under your desk. And you know
Hmm.
what? You'll never get breached. You never have an
Hmm.
issue. But if you
Solid.
must get on the internet and you must do work and things of that nature, usually what most people ask, their first question is, "What do you want to do?"
Right.
Right?
Right.
Which is for some people a weird question. Like, I just want to get on the internet. I want to send some emails, or whatnot. Well, the reason why they're asking that, it then helps them formulate, you know, what what computer will be right for you,
Right.
right?
What
So,
components you may need, what you might want to invest in more than other components kind of thing.
correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
So if you're somebody who's doing videos and filming and directing and things of that nature, some kind of artsy kind of thing, then you may want to go with a Mac, right?
Right.
um, or they PCs have gotten better, Google and things of that nature with their
Yeah.
tablets and stuff like that. But depending on how big your hard drive needs to be and your RAM and things of that nature, so that we can formulate that thought and say, okay, this is what you need. You need at
Right.
least a solid state so it can move fast. You need your RAM to be this size so it can handle that. Or if you're just like my mom, who's just like, hey, I just want to be able to like FaceTime or video
Hmm.
and save pictures, right? May go in and pay a bill or two. So I'm not doing much, right? Versus some people who are like, I do everything in my computer, right?
Right.
So just understanding those questions, and like I said, everybody they always ask that question. So if you go in the Best Buy right now, they would ask you, so what is your plans with this computer, right?
Right.
And then go from there.
Right.
And I think that the number one question too, or the number two question is, are you a Mac guy or Mac person or
Yeah.
PC person,
Right.
right?
Right. What are
And
your pronouns? PC or Mac?
right, and then I think we should go ahead and break the PC. Hey, we should break the myth right now that I always hear people say, I want to go with Mac because it doesn't get viruses. Well, Mike,
Yeah.
I you as you've been doing this for a minute. Do Macs get viruses?
Yes, Macs get viruses. That was something that like they used to say a lot in the 90s, like Macs
Right,
don't get viruses and everything else. And I'm sure at some point the hackers with their anonymous faces masks on were like, maybe we should write Mac viruses. And then,
right,
Mac, or just platform independent. Hey, I see you have a Mac or a PC. Here's a ransomware for you.
right.
It's
Hey,
it's
they were like, oh, so Macs don't get hold my beer,
right, right. Hey, hold my beer. Yeah.
hold my beer.
Challenge accepted, as they say, right? So, yeah. So, unfortunately, the proclivity for a Mac to get a virus might be different. It's not better or worse. You could be lucky and never get a virus ever, or
Right,
even know that you got a virus. Which is even worse.
that
But
is
yeah,
worse.
there are things here that are platform independent, meaning it doesn't matter if it's a PC or a Mac or a Linux or any other system. If you're running Java, you're doomed.
Right.
I maybe I shouldn't say that, but if you have certain
Log4j, right? It
right,
did
yeah,
not. Right?
if you have certain programs installed or things like that, it doesn't matter what operating system sometimes
Correct.
you have, and sometimes they just run in memory. So it
Correct.
doesn't matter the platform kernel that you're running or what drives that operating system. I just need that one little piece over here that you downloaded off of this website, and we're good.
Right.
Um,
Right.
so yeah, I absolutely emphatically tell people get an antivirus. It's $50 a year or less. Don't get a free one, but just make an investment, right? Get some backup, right?
Who do you
Get
recommend? What do you like?
so for Macs, I like Sophos. I've been using Sophos for a number of years,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I do pen testing. So I go to some really bad places to grab stuff and things like that. And well, I haven't done pen testing in over a year or two, but
You still
it's
go to bad places. You haven't done it in a
no,
year or
I
two.
don't actually. I don't go to bad places anymore because I'm like, nah, I don't want to deal with that.
Right. Right.
But if you go someplace, some of those things are poisoned, and you have to have something to just clarify and clean and everything else. Now, obviously, I use virtual machines and download through virtual machines, but just in case something comes upstream into my Mac from my virtual machine that runs on my Mac, I want to make sure that it's covered. Um,
Right.
I also have a family plan, so I'm able to watch out for my mother-in-law's computer, my dad's computer, my wife's computer, and just know, oh, you haven't updated in a while. Hey, Dad, can you fire up your computer and let Sophos update and catch up and everything else?
So do
That's
you use
why I like
Sophos
Sophos.
just for Macs, or do you also use it for PCs as well? Or what would you be a
Yeah.
recommendation from a PC
No, I,
standpoint?
I I use it for PCs as
Okay.
well. I know when Mac started developing their own processor, um, the Sophos didn't work right away. So they've made some changes recently, and now it works just fine.
Right.
Um,
Right.
I used to be a leading edge technology person. I'm not anymore.
Right.
Um, just because I'd like to, there's so many changes. Um, it's like Moore's law doesn't apply anymore. It's just like it's just so much faster and everything
Right.
else. It's like I'm gonna wait. I'll wait and see what happens. And now it's not just let's buy this. It's let's buy a computer. It's okay. And you talked about earlier. I'm gonna buy a computer. If it's a desktop, I'm gonna buy a monitor. I'm gonna buy a printer. I'm gonna buy this. Let's make sure all the components work together
Correct.
before I just upgrade one. Right.
Right.
I remember when I was a teenager, I bought the latest and greatest video card and realized it doesn't work with my desktop. So I had this $300 video card in the 90s, and I'm like, I can't use
Before
it.
Amazon, where you can just send it back. Right.
Right, right. Well, yeah, I bought it at a computer show.
Right.
And,
Right.
I was like, guess I'm building another computer. It,
Wow.
so it's
And
things like that. They're just
you
like, yeah,
dated
maybe
yourself. I think you
I
just
did.
dated yourself.
I
Computer
know.
show. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if the gray and balding head didn't give it away, then yeah, the computer show did.
Computer
Whatever,
show.
Circuit City. You're the one who dropped Circuit City.
I did drop Circuit City in
I
the
was,
green room.
what?
I
Huh?
was like, when
Uh,
you go to Best Buy or Circuit City, I just dated myself. I did.
yeah,
I did. They
yeah.
have not been around a
Never going
while.
into a club again, um, unless you're escorted by your children. Um,
Yes, exactly. Hey, so my thing is sometimes so even to get away from, I mean, so I can remember back when it would be a desktop versus a laptop, right? And I
right,
think now you see a lot more laptops. I would probably walk in and be like, "What is that?" To see a
right,
desktop, right? I mean,
right.
it's very interesting to see people still running that, because of so much power that's in a laptop and how convenient it is to pick it up and leave. It's also what makes it so much more important to security, right? Because it's so easy to pick up and leave with it. So making sure you have encryption and making sure that's locked down and things of that nature. So again, antivirus is definitely important, but also making sure that you put a password on your laptop, right?
Yeah,
Something as
yeah,
simple as that,
absolutely.
right? And then if you can put encryption on it, put encryption on it. Make sure it's encrypted, the hard drive that is, so that if somebody does take it, it's more than it's a property issue versus now sensitive data that you may
Yeah,
have
yeah,
might not released.
yeah. And so what Joel's talking about is there's File Vault on a Mac. So it's a setting for a hard drive in security settings, and it encrypts your hard drive.
Right.
And then for PC, it is BitLocker.
BitLocker.
BitLocker. It
BitLocker.
always sounds like a virus to me, a ransomware
Right.
virus, but it's BitLocker.
BitLocker.
Um,
Yep.
Now, BitLocker requires you to write down that string of characters that you're putting in there. Do not ever lose that string of characters. Like print that screen and stick it in your fire safe vault, along
Take a
with your
picture of it.
passport. Yeah,
Yeah,
just don't ever lose those things, because if you lose them and it requires you to put it back in again and you don't have it, you're never getting back in that hard drive.
that is correct.
So that's, it's the balance of, hey, these things are safe, but they're also safe from me now.
Right.
So yeah,
Right.
and then make sure you back up your files off of the computer. So having those external hard drives, we talked about that once upon a time. Where you invest $100 or so into an external hard drive every once in a while. Macs obviously have
Time machine.
time machine. Oh my God, it's daylight savings, and
It
I'm
is.
dying.
It is.
Um,
It
and
is.
PCs have backups.
Right.
You can go to start and go to or not Siri. We're not PC users.
Yeah, we're good
But you
people. I swear
yeah
we're professionals. We know
yeah,
what
I
we're doing.
know. Yeah. 20 years of IT and 1 hour forward, and I'm done.
They're
um,
they're like, are they
uh,
sure they know what they're talking about? I
yeah,
promise you.
I'm
We
kidding.
stayed in
Joel
the
and I are in
Holiday Inn
marketing.
last night, people. We are professionals.
We're we're custodians at a marketing firm.
We're
Um,
good. Trust us.
anyway, all right, yeah, we
Right.
are giddy. Pull it back in. Pull it back in.
Right. I'm back. I'm
But
back.
make sure you do your backups and everything else. So
Correct.
let's talk about the components of a computer that usually people shop for and shop around. You walk into a computer selling place, and they're like, "Oh, you're here for a new computer, right? You're here for the new i9. Maybe you need 32 gigs of the 4333 megahertz." You're like, "What? Wait, I just came in here to buy a computer, not learn a whole new language."
Right.
So, Joel, processors. What do you know about processors that are out there?
So I mean, so I can give you the gist of processing, then I'll let you dive into more of the technical space of it, right? So just simply what it is how fast your computer moves, right?
Right.
How fast it takes that data and processes it for you, right? Is the processor. So if you're doing a gaming kind of situation where you need the processor to move extremely fast so you can keep up with what's going on in that game because it's virtual and has a lot of different pieces to it, then you want a fast processor, right? Um, but if you're not a gamer and that's not your thing, and again you're just doing simple tasks, then you don't want to have a process that moves as fast as a gaming one. And again, every component, the faster it is, the bigger the hard drive, the better the graphics, the more expensive it is, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's all about money, right? So
Yeah.
you may be able to get a faster processor, smaller hard drive, and the graphics won't be as good, right?
Yeah.
Or you're gonna get some of the three combination. But if you get all three, you're gonna spend a lot of
Yeah.
money, right?
Yeah. And so that's the other point. The other question you usually ask is, how much do you want to spend on a computer?
Right,
Right. Is that, I've bought computers off of eBay before, and they were fine. Right. You definitely wipe them and clean them, and
right.
both electronically and physically you clean them, especially the keyboard and mouse pad. But
Yes,
they're okay. And sometimes you're like, I don't have a lot of money, but I do need a really good processor and video card and RAM and hard drive. So sometimes looking at eBay and buying somebody else's. There are people out there, God bless them, that always every 6 months or every year go out and buy a new computer, and you're like, okay, but what are you going to do with the old one? You're like, well, I'll just sell it, and then I'll use the money from the old one, from the last one I bought, to buy the new one. Um, that's fine. That's what people like to do. They buy gadgets and stuff like that. I
right,
certainly buy my fair share of gadgets,
right,
and I hand them off to friends and family members. But don't always think that you have to buy brand new. If you're like, I need the best, and I really can't afford the best right now, you're like, all right, buy this now, and then move forward. But so going talking about processors right now, there's three major brands, right? There's Intel. Everybody knows Intel. It's all about the Pentium. Just dated myself again there.
yes you did, yes you did.
AMD. AMD makes great processors. And then Apple now makes their own processors. So their M1 processor chips that they're making in the new Macs, that's Apple's brands of computers. They're no longer Intel based. Um, so it compatibility is really probably the big thing there. What does your processor work with to the motherboard? So everything sits on something so that it can communicate to each other.
Right.
The processor, the RAM, the video card, the hard drive, they all communicate via the motherboard. And sometimes it's the what comes on a motherboard that helps you interact with those things and limits your capacity and things like that. Like some motherboards have a limit of how much RAM you can have on them or the type of RAM you can have on them. Sometimes they limit the processor type. Usually that's what it is. It limits the processor if it's an Intel or an AMD processor. Macs, you're going to buy a Mac, it's going to be a Mac.
Right.
But if it's Intel or AMD, it's going to limit certain things. Just be cognizant of that if you're somebody who likes to upgrade their computer every once in a while. Um, and that means just like upgrading the individual components, right? So again, I have the story of where I went and I bought a video card and I realized the video card wasn't compatible with the motherboard.
Right.
Guess I'm upgrading the motherboard now at some point. Oh, well, now that motherboard's not compatible with the processor I have. Guess I'm updating. Oh, well, I guess I just built a new computer.
You just build a new computer. Correct.
Right, right.
Right.
And I used to do that. I don't do that anymore. I just it's
Right.
there are ways to get around those kinds of things and yeah. So and it's fun. Don't get me wrong. I wish I could do it. I just don't have the energy to do it anymore.
Hey,
Um
so let me before you move on, let
yeah.
me just give a security tip real quick, right?
Hmm.
So, if you
Joel's
have a
security tip of the day.
old computer, right? So any old computer, please wipe it, right? Please make sure that you clean it out, right?
Yeah.
Before you get rid of it.
Yeah.
Um, Make sure that you clean the information off of it because
Yeah.
even though you haven't used it in a while, you may not think anything about it. There still may be data on there that is valuable, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
To somebody, right? So if you're going to give this away to somewhere so they can reuse it, you don't want them to spin it up and they have, PII, right? So
Right.
personal identifiable information
Right.
or something else, like all your tax, info
Yeah.
from, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago.
Yeah.
Because you moved on to a new computer, you haven't used it in 5 years, so you didn't think anything of it, and you want
Yeah.
to do this good deed, and this good deed turns into something else, right?
Yeah.
So make sure that you wipe that hard drive. And there's many videos out there that will tell you how you can wipe almost any component, right? You just go to YouTube and type, "Hey, I have this type of computer and I want to wipe it or restore it back to factory settings." Please do that, right?
Yeah.
If you don't get anything else out of this, please do that, right?
And laughter.
And laughter, yes,
But yeah, no, to Joel's point, it's not just as simple as right click delete on something or right click move to trash can.
right,
Forensic software is very tricky and very neat. You can delete something multiple times and I can pull it off your hard drive. So
right,
I always tell people pull the hard drive out. Just open the case, open the commuter case, blow the dust bunnies out, and go, oh, there's the hard drive. Pull the hard drive out, and then donate the computer. If you are giving it to a friend or family member, there are other software components that you can install that will help you wipe and bit race the data that's on there, and just so it's
right,
safe and everything else. So, no, great point, Joel. Great point. So processors, one component, right? There's Intel has i9, i7, i5. They also still put out Celeron processors, right? And to Joel's point, it's all about what do you want to do with it? If you're playing very advanced games and things like that, you want the more advanced processors. The more advanced processors also generate a lot more heat. So
right,
you may be starting to deal with different heat components and things like that. And well, that's a little bit more technical than we need to, but there's water cooled and oil cooled computers now, which
right,
for the really heavy processors, you really kind of need that because you put your hand next to it, you can make toast off of the thing. And then there's RAM, right? So random access memory, and different types of speeds of RAM and different amounts, right? So
right,
if you're somebody that does video editing or things like that, you run really heavy computer programs, you might need that additional RAM. So like
right,
I have a laptop. I do video editing because it takes a lot for me to look as pretty as Joel. So I've got 32 gigs of RAM, which seems like an awful lot, but it's like you could buy 64, 128 gigs of RAM
Right.
if that's what you're doing, right? And it helps to do those kinds of things. You don't want to sit around wait. You also don't want to, if you're filming or recording something, it generates lag if you don't have enough RAM.
Right.
So that can be challenging as well. So just kind of keep those things in mind, like how much RAM do I want? There, it's also important to note for Macs, it's not impossible for some Macs to be upgraded, but like the MacBook Pros and the laptops, you pretty much buy that's what you're going to get.
Correct.
So buy as much as you think you can afford, safely and conservatively, but just understand that if you needed more, you're going to have to basically buy a new Mac laptop. The desktops, the Mac Minis and the Pros and things like that, you can still upgrade certain components like RAM and certain things, hard drives. But for the laptops, you really need to either go to a professional, fruit fixers, or what they I think is one of them called.
Fruit
Um, but
fixers.
they're
Okay.
authorized Mac, um, repair shops and mechanics. So just keep that in mind. Like some computers, you're like, this is it. This is what you're buying. You're not going to be able to upgrade this or
Right.
or update that at all. Um, Video cards, Joel. Any thoughts on video cards?
Um. No.
Okay, so I mean, and there's different types of video cards. There's different
Right.
types of connections. Um, There's also like, it used to be that once you install that video card, that was it. That's not the case anymore. You can buy video card external component holders. Razer makes an awesome one that plug into your USB-C or Thunderbolt connection, and now you can run the video card off of your computer outside of your computer. So going back, I said to your Mac
So
users
like
buy your
streaming it
MacBook
to your TV, like sending it to your TV or
to
some
your
screen
yeah, to a monitor or something
on a
like
monitor.
that.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah.
Right.
So
Right. Right.
that's very handy, very useful,
Right.
especially if you're using this computer and it just doesn't have enough horsepower or it doesn't have the right video card to play a video game. You
Right.
can sometimes get that external drive, install a video card of your choice, and now you're right back to where you want to be. So that's good. It's good, important to know. It's another way of pushing your components that you buy and making the best of your investment, just kind of pushing that along, right?
Right.
um and then hard drive space, what are you keeping? Um so 512 gigs is just fine for me. I've got 250 free right now.
A
um
terabyte. It just depends on how much you need. Right.
Yeah, yeah, and
Um,
and if you're keeping photos of your family and kids and everything else, definitely get an external hard drive as well. You
mhm.
can keep them on your computer; it's nice to have and everything else, but save them off, put them on a thumb drive, put them in a vault or something
Right.
like that, and just in
Right.
case. Uh, God forbid this ever happens to anybody, but I've had a house fire when I was 18, and my family lost everything. So and it's then you're relying on family and friends. Are like, I found this old picture of
Right.
you and everything else, and yeah, the look of horror as I see the Italian Irish bush that I grew when I was a kid, and like, oh, burn it. Shouldn't joke about that. But anyway, so those are the computer questions. Joel, we talked about laptop versus desktop, but did we talk about monitors and
We didn't.
touchscreen versus non-touch? What
Right.
do you have thoughts on that?
Yeah, it just depends on if you're, in this modern age where you want to be able to touch and move your screen, um, or if it's you want to go back to the mouse pad or in being able to scroll with the little mouse thingamajig in the middle of your screen.
All right.
It depends, right? I mean, there's so much technology out there where it can flip from a laptop to a ThinkPad or a iPad or
Yeah.
whatever it is that you want. So it's just depending on your preference, right?
Yeah.
And if you're used to one, it's hard to switch over to the other one,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It really, really is.
Yeah.
Change is difficult. So if somebody has used PCs their whole life, it's hard to move them over to a Mac and vice
Yeah.
versa.
Yeah.
And then if you are a touchscreen kind of person, you like to be able to just scroll and move your way through, it's going to be hard for you to go back to you think that would be caveman. Like we're back
Yeah.
to chiseling, in
Yeah.
rocks again.
Yeah.
So it just depends on what you like. I mean, there's a lot of smooth things out there and cool technology. And I guess to piggyback on, like I know somebody who every time the new iPhone comes out, they get it. Every time. They just
Hmm.
love technology. Where I'm more like, oh, I can wait, right? I
Yeah.
can wait till it's not $2 million, right?
Yeah.
I wait till
Yeah.
it's more like 1 million, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it
Half
just
a
depends
million.
on what you like and what you want to do.
Right.
But also when is the best time, right, to
Right.
to buy a computer, right? So for me, I think I usually when I want to get like a quick computer or laptop, I usually do like Black Friday, like somewhere
Hmm.
around there, right? They
Yeah.
always have like a lot of cool sales. Dell will have something, or HP, or any of your big box stores will have something, and I can grab what I need. And then I am one of those people that will adjust it, right? So if I need a PC and it doesn't have as much memory as I want it to, then I can pick up something for on one of these other sites and plug it in,
Right.
right? But for some people who don't want to go through that, again, you have to look at what you want and then and buy that. But 100% agree with the Mac. I've never tried to upgrade my Mac,
Yeah.
um, so I don't know how hard that is. But
It
what did you call
it
them? Fruit,
sucks.
fruit, what? Fruit
Fruit.
vendors?
So there's a store here in the area I live in called Fruit Fixers, which is genius. You think I'm like,
That
oh,
is
that's
genius.
cute name.
Yeah,
But
yeah. Fruit
yeah,
fixers.
I've had the battery go out on my MacBook Pro, and they're like, hey, there's a kit for it, and you're like, oh, okay, well, I'll just buy the battery replacement kit, and I get the kit, and I'm like, I suddenly got transported back to high school when I was in AP biology, going, I do not belong in this class,
Right,
and I pulled the lid off, and I'm like, oh, and I got it to work, and it took me a while, and I had to re-put wires back. That I'm like, I'm pretty sure that wire doesn't go there, but it
so you're
fits now.
soldering, you're in there
Yeah,
soldering things,
yeah,
and
you're soldering, and
yeah.
I'm like, whoa, all right, and so I'm in IT because maybe I'm stupid and fearless. so so I was like, yeah. And this was a Mac I bought off of eBay. It was
Right,
a $500 MacBook Pro. It was really nice, but the
right,
battery was going out on it, which happens, right? So battery cycles on a MacBook Pro are a big thing for people to check when you buy and sell. And this one was really kind of going out, which means the battery needed to be replaced. So I got it,
right.
used it for 3 months, and the battery was dying. So I was like, all right, time to replace the battery. And it's really just like the way Mac designed it was they put the battery wherever it could fit, right? And it's
Right.
it's it's like L shaped and Y shaped, and you're like, what is this? Where's the battery? And you're like, that is the
Sometimes it's
battery.
good just to pay somebody to do it, right? Hey,
Exactly. Yeah,
I'm
like I
glad.
said, there's some things that are just like I could probably replace the cracked screen on my cell phone, but I also know that I could go to a store and have somebody do it in 5 minutes
Right,
and it be nigh perfect. Right
right.
now, you know, some people care about, well, it was just slightly a micron off, and you're like, that's going to bother you for now and forever. Okay, then maybe you need to do it and
Right,
do it until it's right. For me, it's
right.
like I can live with that micron or
Micron
two or
works.
50, because I don't
Micron
have to deal
works.
with it. Yeah.
I mean, even
Um,
even other questions I get is maybe it's not on the computer, but it's on like, hey, I need a printer, right? Now I
yeah.
think that comes up a lot more in my case.
Yeah.
And
If you
what's
have
the
kids.
best printer? And I'm
Yeah.
like the one that prints paper, right? I
Right.
mean, like what do you need all in one? Do you need just a printer? Do you need a
Right.
scanner? And do you want it to be able to have a wireless, which I think most of them do, right? Have a
Yeah.
wireless component to it where you can connect with your cell phone or other
Yeah.
wireless devices and print stuff off of it.
Bluetooth.
So
Yeah.
printer comes up a lot. And then how much should I spend on a printer? Uh,
Yeah. And the break point, and what type of printer, right? So do
right,
I get a laser? Do I get inkjet? Do I get this? Um, I always look at it as simply as how much are you going to print? What are you going to print? So like I usually do black and white. So this HP that I have behind me is fine. My wife went to print out color pictures the other day, and it took like a year and a half for one page. And she's like,
right,
I thought this thing was fast, and I was like, it is for black and white pictures,
right.
but for color, it's a little bit different. And
Takes a little
so
longer.
takes a
Right,
little longer. But if you print a lot of color and everything else, then you definitely want to find something that does a high amount of ppms, pages per minute.
right,
So and look at the ink cost. right? So that's that. So how often are you printing? What are you printing? And then the ink cost.
Right.
How much does it cost to print? So like I do HP Print, which they monitor my printer and all the things I say about the government. And then
Yes.
when my printer cartridge is low on ink, they send me a box of printer cartridges to replace one. Yeah, hey, it looks like you're getting low, and I pay like $1.99 because I print maybe 50 pages or less a month.
Right. I do the same
And
thing.
yeah,
And, and the scary part is they will remind me. I'm always paranoid, so I cut my printer off. Right.
yeah, yeah,
So the government doesn't know what I'm saying. And they will send me an email like, "Hey, Joe, you haven't checked in a while. You need to cut your printer off." And I'm always like,
yeah.
"How did you know?
You
I
need
don't
to mind
watch
your business.
it.
Yeah,
Don't tell me when to cut it on."
don't tell me when to cut it off.
And then I cut it on, and I sit there and patiently wait for it to do whatever it's doing. But
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
uh,
Download your bank
I
account.
mean, there's there is a convenience to that, right? But
Yeah,
you know that that's an Internet of Things, right? Your
yeah,
printer is speaking with the mothership. It is monitoring your print, and also within the package, right? So if you go beyond your 50-page printer, they're gonna let you know, like, hey,
yeah,
you printed 51, right? We just
yeah,
want to let you know. So instead of $2, it's $3, right?
yeah.
Because
I
you
mean,
did 51 pages.
cut me a break, HP. My manifesto is 56 pages. I tried
I
getting
try.
it down, but I just can't talk enough about how the Penguins are trying to take over
They're
in
trying
less
to
than
get us
56 pages. So give me those 6 pages.
right,
Come
right.
at me, bro. And other cringeworthy things I can say on a YouTube channel.
Right.
Um,
As you can tell, we are exhausted, man. This
yeah,
why time change. Like I literally want to do this podcast on like what is up with the time change. Can we not just
yeah.
stick with one?
What is the
Gosh,
deal with this time change? Yeah,
Arizona looks real smart right now. They changed nothing. Hey,
yeah. They
hey,
live in the desert though, Joel. So
they do
time
live
means nothing to them.
they do live in a desert.
The the tribe of Native Americans that live there don't have a belief in time system.
Right, right.
Fact check me on that, but I'm pretty sure the Navajo did not have time. All right, so let's go over the takeaways before we go way off the rails. Um, what's your primary use for the computer, and how much do you want to spend?
Correct.
Um, those things aren't mutually exclusive to each other. You want to spend more money and you need more things. Sometimes you can buy a used computer. Be careful. Um, buy from sellers that have good feedback and everything else, as my wife says. My wife won't buy anybody who's got less than 100% feedback, and I'm like, less than 100%?
100%. Like 98 ain't good. Like
Yeah,
I
like
still
they had one
passing.
pissed off person 10 years ago
Right.
and it ruins it for them.
I'm
Just
done.
nope, not buying from them. Like, oh,
Wow.
okay, all right.
All right.
um
5 stars only, right? So
yeah,
hey,
so but that's
5 stars.
you know what, she doesn't get burned, so I got to give it to her. I've
Okay.
been burned once. So,
They
but
make cream for that. They make
yeah,
cream for that.
it happens. It happens. When's the best time to buy? If you're buying a Mac and you're going to college, if you wait until April, May to
Right.
about October, November, they have deals and they give away. Apple always has college and education purchases. If you scroll all the way down to the bottom of the apple.com website, there's a purchase for education or college or things like that. Click on those. You may require to add in your school ID and things like that, just so they can validate that you
Hey,
are.
Mike, I think you froze up, Mike.
Oh, did I?
Yeah,
Okay.
you're currently frozen
I'm
on my
currently
end.
frozen.
Yes. And
Let it go.
it's such a weird
Let it
pose. So I want to see if I
go.
can grab it for you.
All right.
So
Screenshot that for me.
yeah, I'm gonna screenshot that.
Post that in the comments and
I
post that in the
want to show
comments.
you how you look. I'm like, well, very very deep in thought. So I'm gonna make sure I send that to you.
That's how I usually stand, Joel. Don't you know that?
Yeah, you
Um,
know what you do. You
but
do.
as Joel mentioned, Black Friday is a good price. Costco, if you have Costco memberships, they usually have good deals every once in a while.
Right.
Um,
And
printers,
sometimes during the back to school, they used to do like a tax-free day,
yeah, yeah, tax free.
which was a good time to buy computer stuff because they didn't put their taxes on that.
Yeah,
So if you can combine the two of a savings and tax-free, that's pretty good.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. All right. Well, I think that's going to do it. Joel, any parting thoughts for the people out there?
No, knowing is half the battle. Thank you for being here, G.I. Joe. And hopefully it's helped a little bit, right? I know we went around the moon, but yeah, thank you for being here with us, and we look forward to the next uh, topic.
Yeah, and if you guys have any suggestions or any thoughts, any questions, feel free to put them in the comments below. You made it this far into the recording, so thank you for doing that.
All right.
If you like what you see, please hit the like button and subscribe, and just let us know your thoughts and what you're doing. We don't make any money on this. This doesn't serve our ego. This is really just immortalizing Joel's pretty face for the masses and
We're
getting
just
my
trying to
sense of
make it.
humor out there.
Right.
And that'll do it for us on this Pi Day, daylight post daylight savings. And you guys have a wonderful week.
Yep. Yep. Take care.